Hello, my name is Lilia Wild, and this is my ecology research project. So a bit of introduction about what we're doing. So I am comparing two areas of a small ecological community. I took two different sites and decided to compare the two, the water quality and the species that reside within them, the fish species. So I chose the first one being a nature park, actually located not too far. It's about 45 minutes away from me. It's called Brown County State Park. It's a really good area, very nice, clean, it's protected. And then I wanted to compare that to a stream that's just kind of right by my house. It's a residential stream that they both lead into a big open body of water. So I thought it would be a really good idea to get a big variety of species within there. Um, so I wanted to compare the quality and quantity of fish and of fish species that are residing in both of those streams. So a little bit about what I just talked about. When I was conducting this, I went out and surveyed everything to see what I could find. In the first site, which is the nature park, I found about 7 different species, being largemouth bass, smallmouth bass, bluegill, creek chub, minnows, and shiners. There were a lot of other species around that I had not recorded, being different species of birds, turtles. We found quite a few deer, and there's also a lot of different types of water snakes that were around as well. And then going on to site 2, which is the residential, that's just a couple minutes away from where I'm at. I didn't find as many different species, which would just go to largemouth bass, bluegill, minnows, shiners, and we actually found a couple catfish. Some other species that I ran into that I didn't record was a lot around here was being ducks, geese, weasels, and I actually found a little small soft-shell turtle, which is very awesome. The picture on the top right is actually a photo of one of the bass that I had caught the nature park that was just by me. So moving on. So going over the methods that I had used, I decided to use the plot counting method, and some things that I did to make all my research happen is I used a casting net when I was surveying. There's a lot of running water, but there's also within each of those, there's a bunch of different pools that happen with the running water, and a lot of fish will go there to rest, some to spawn, and so I figured that was my best chance at collecting as many different species or just fish in general than trying to cast out in just the running water. And I did that at both of the areas. I wanted to keep and get a sample collection of about 30 to 50. I figured if I was within that range, I would be able to have enough data to fully be able to compare the results to see see the different quantity and qualities that there is. The way I calculated and tracked all this, I used my Apple Watch. It allowed me to keep tabs on the distance that I traveled. I was able to know how far I went, and so to keep it fair for each side, I decided to track 1 mile in total, and then obviously going back, just so that I wasn't going too far and getting getting more pools and stuff in one area because I went further than the other. Of course, I brought a notebook to tally each of the fish that I got. And then when I wasn't sure of a fish or just wanted to make sure I was writing down the correct thing, I used an app called Picturefish. You take a photo of the fish that you collected, and then it will tell you what it is and where it's locally found and whatnot. And then I went to the DNR's website to identify any fish species that I wasn't too sure of as well, just to make sure, kind of double check there. And then here are the results that I've calculated. You can see the difference in the species I've collected on the first site versus the second site, and we did some calculations there. But overall, site 1 had a larger variety of fish species that was found. There were 7 total species, and the total found that day was actually 42, and that was that whole mile track. And then site 2 had slightly more fish found, but the total uh, species, um, the total amount that was found was 51 for the day. Um, Going into that, there can be many different reasons for these fluctuations and all the numbers, but they are all relatively close together. Some outside factors that could have been due to that I have connected in research on different days. I was able to do both on the same day, so different weather patterns, different fish traveling through, um, and being in the two completely different locations. One being in protected nature park, like I said, and the residential. That could factor due to, one's being very protected, and there's not a lot of stuff, people or anything that tracks through there, and one being residential where there's a lot of, kids and all different animals, and unfortunately the quality isn't as great because there is a lot more trash in the area and stuff that was inside the stream as well, a lot of cans and puddles and whatnot. Another um, factor that could go into this would be the starting points and the distance I tracked. I could have been potentially deeper into the stream in the first one than the second one, which that can have some variance. But something similar in both of these, they both ran into a larger body of water. So the reason I bring this up because I had just missed spawning season when I went. It was right after spawning season, so that could have played a factor in what fisher have already left that area and went back to the bigger bodies of water because a lot of fish do actually travel upstream in shallow areas to spawn. Um, Overall, I thought my research question was right due to there was more fish species as well as better water quality in the nature park than all the residential areas.